when our society or Black women and Black men say that, it's so insulting when I
Mm-hmm.
see how much she has fought and what she has done to get to where she's gone. I mean, they've been saying she's been sleeping around that house because it just couldn't be that she's that smart.
Yeah.
And I try to remind people, don't join in that chorus.
Mm-hmm.
She is smart. She is the most qualified vice president we've ever had.
Just to focus on getting the Black woman's vote, is that the best thing for us as a whole? Because this country is not made up of just Black women. You know what I mean? So are you focusing on us because you truly care about us, because you value our opinion, or are we targeted?
Just some of her campaigns and just some of your decisions. Like, yeah, you want a sense of decorum and class, but why do we have Meg the Stallion shaking her ass at your rallies and shit? Like, to me, that's a little distasteful. I don't want that representation to be tagged on to the Black woman that's supposed to be running our country.
The Dems are going to keep dimming. And by that, I mean, like, the pandering, the line, just vote for me and we'll talk about it later after I get in office. Ain't that exactly what Biden and Kamala did in 2020 when Black folks put them on the hot seat, especially when the reparations discussion was heating up?
What's going on, everybody? My name is Mel, and welcome to Life Coaching by Mel. Here at Life Coaching by Mel, we speak truth regarding the family, and that truth is here every Wednesday at 6 p.m. Central Standard Time. So be sure, if you're new to the channel, hit that subscribe button, hit that notification bell for me, hit that like button, hit me in the comment section. This is going to be an invigorating conversation. You don't want to miss it. You want to be a part of this. All comments are welcome. This is a conversation regarding the upcoming election, because the truth about the family that we don't want to leave out is politics. Politics hit home. So let's discuss that. I have an amazing conversation here with 4 amazing women who have all been on my show. And this is going to be incredible, guys. I'm sorry. I'm excited about this. Been looking forward to it. Been in the making for a little bit. If I can get my settings correct. There we go. Oh, there we go. Say, oh, this is new. I've been updating my graphics, trying to become a little bit more professional. But let me introduce these ladies from left to right. We have Joy, we have Sharitha, we have Amanda, and we have Tamara. Now, they're going to do their own introductions here in a moment. But ladies and gentlemen, just want to preface you all and say the purpose of this conversation is indeed that, a conversation. This is not trying to convince anybody of anything. We want to let this conversation flow, let it flow properly, and let them say their views and get their views out. And if that maybe can help you with your decision for this upcoming election, that's great. But this is all in love. But guys, I want to start again from left to right. Joy and everyone proceeding, describe your current political beliefs. If you want to do a small intro of yourself, but describe your current political beliefs. Either provide the party or a brief statement detailing your political stance.
Deep. No. So my name is Joy, and I don't know how much intro we're doing, but I'm located in the Minneapolis area. So I'm a Midwest girl, and beliefs. I really focus on. I'm a Christian, and I focus political beliefs on what those ideals and principles are for me. And so as long as they align with those goals, the foundation I have, and I live my life by, that's where I align. I know that nobody's perfect, no system is perfect, no ideology is perfect, but which ones are there that align with community, leaning on one another, and taking care of one another? And that's really it. Glad to be here.
Yes. All right, Sharitha.
Hey, my name is Sharitha DeShields, and I'm not like a podcast or anything. I'm just, a woman. I'm a business owner. I have a consulting company, and I also am the mother of an autistic son on the spectrum. So that comes with its challenges. And I'm embarking on a journey now to help mothers who are in that same boat as me find their way through. And as far as like political, I don't really have a specific party affiliation. I like to think of myself as an observer watching an elaborate chess game play out. I've been operating in this way since Obama's reelection in 2012. So I don't really claim either party. Honestly, I feel personally they're just two sides of the same coin. And when you look at this objectively from a bird's eye view, you'll see, how that comes into play. And believe me, there's enough evidence out there to support that the entire world has been duped into bipartisanship. We think America and other colonized countries and provinces are true democracies, but yeah, we'll get into that, I guess.
Well, thank you. Amanda.
Amanda Williams. I am a personal trainer. I am also a retail manager, and I'll claim author, even though my book is not completed and not out yet, but it's coming. I am a mom of 4. I have 4 children. I have a son in college. I have a daughter in high school. I have a daughter in middle school, and I have a daughter in elementary school. So, yeah, I'm all around. And like Joyce said, I'm a Christian. So I base a lot of my decisions off of things that align with that. But I'm also a Black woman. And so anything that supports us, uplifts us, puts us in a better position, I'm all for it. So not loyal to any party. Just like she said, chess game. I'm just kind of watching the plays as they play out, and I'll make my decision then.
Awesome. And Tamara.
Well, hello. My name, of course, is Tamara, and I am a wife and a mom of 4. I have 3 of, that I pushed out myself, and I have a bonus baby as well. I also work from home. I'm a cybersecurity analyst from home, and I'm a gym girly. I'm not a personal trainer, but I be in the gym, okay?
Get it, girl.
So I'm gonna be honest. So I did just recently become a TikToker within the past year and a half, and I kind of touch on relationships, family, type topics. Also, to kind of teach women how to move better, make better decisions for better outcomes, in your life, type situation. So, politics is not really my thing. I ain't gonna lie to you, because just like Sharitha stated, I just think both sides are on some BS at times. I just think we're just watching a whole bunch of puppets, and we are just sitting back watching a show. I do agree with Joy that you're the goal is to find a party that you're more aligned with, but I'm really having a hard time finding an alignment on either side. I'm more. Now, I'll put it like this. I don't like to use the term Christian because there's just certain things with Christianity and, I don't agree with, but I do have very traditional values. And I definitely am a believer of God. I just don't get into the tradition things, but I think I'm a little bit of liberal / conservative. I'm like a balance because I do have very traditional values, but I want people to be set up for success. And right now I'm just having a hard time seeing where both sides are willing to or have a plan to do that. So I don't know what you want to call me, but I'm an anomaly. I'm somewhere in the gray area.
Well, thank you, ladies, for that intro. And I will say that's the purpose of this. I didn't want to find, ex politician here or someone that I know that's super versed in this or that does this for a living. I want to find everyday ladies that can have this conversation with President Biden now being out as president or being out as a candidate for the next presidency. Is early, y'all. I'm trying to get my words together. Vice President Harris is now in the running, and I believe there's a push towards Black women. So let's talk about that. What changes does her running that present for you? Let's start with Sharitha.
For me, none. Absolutely nothing. I don't know. Like I said, I'm a newcomer to your house and your channel and everything, and I am. I'm that person that will just give it straight up how I see it. So for me, no, there's no change. The establishment is playing out their moves exactly the way they intended. And, you know, based on how things I've been told, I'm a conspiracy theorist. I'm like, no, I'm a conspiracy factualist. I don't want to theorize. I want to get down to the meat. But based on how things lined up so quickly after Biden was ousted, I personally believe they set Biden up to oust him. The only reason I think it took so long was because Kamala, like, they weren't sure about her candidacy due to her high unpopularity amongst many, even her own staff. So, and even tons of Black people have put her on notice, you know, and told her to go sit in the corner and face the corner. And so this is the reality of what we're seeing playing out. People are just unhappy with how their lives and how things have played out for them over the years. We still look and we're not too much further along. And that definitely reflects on politics and what's going on. So that's my position on that.
Yeah. Let's go to Amanda.
Not much change for me either because I hadn't like made a decision either way. But like she said, when the announcement was made, I was more like, um, it was planned. You know, I kind of felt like it was something that they knew was going to happen, you know, and that they were trying to dupe us, you know. So now I'm more into listening to try to, you know, get all the underlying, you know, the things that are not being put on, just that they're not saying. You know, my dad always says you can learn a lot by what people don't say. So I'm listening for all of the underlying. For me as a Black woman, there's been a lot of people in my community, people that I come in contact with that are like, we're just voting for her because she's a Black woman. It's a little deeper than that for me. You know, I've been called out because I was like, you know, I'm not going to support her just because she's a Black woman. Not saying that I don't support Black women, but I need to support who supports Black women and everybody else. And that may not be a Black woman. That may be somebody else. So um, I'm just trying to make an informed decision, you know, at this point in my life as to who I vote for because, you know, 10 years ago, it wasn't as important to me as it is now. But I have a grown son. So these things affect him too. So, and then whoever we elect, we're stuck for the next 4 years. You know what I mean? And then we're stuck with their decisions and the decisions that they make for years after that. So, not much change for me other than I am looking a lot deeper than than surface level at this point.
Nice. Tamara.
Um, her, you know, now becoming or being part of the presidential campaign really didn't change much for me outside of been thinking all these years there's been some shady stuff going on about how our presidents are being picked. Now I'm with Amanda. I'm not just going to support a Black woman because, you know, she is in the opportunity, you know, to run for presidency. But again, I need you to make sense in that role, not because you're a
Right,
Black woman.
right.
And we can't
Yeah.
just, you know, I don't want her to get it because she's a Black woman either. And I think most of us would not want to have an opportunity like that and to get it because we're a Black woman, you know, we're Black women. We want to get it because of our education, our experience, our accolades. You know, we don't want to do it just for that purpose. I
Right.
feel like, you know, the way they sprung it on us, it feels like an arranged marriage.
Yep, yep,
Yeah.
yep.
It's just like, how did we get this close, you know, to having a vote? And now all of a sudden, I have
Right.
to pay even more attention to this new candidate that is now up, you know, for this seat. I just don't think it's fair. I don't think we have enough time, you
It feels
know, to
forced.
really to do it.
Same.
Feels very, very, very forced. And like
Hmm.
Amanda said, you got a lot of people or like Black folks that you're voting for her because she's, you know, a Black woman. And I just don't think that's a reason why you vote for somebody. And then honestly, it doesn't really change anything because our votes, the electoral college trumps our vote regardless. So I feel like they have this plan from the jump. They make us feel like our vote matters in this capacity. Our vote does matter, but not at this level, is what I'm saying. Because sometimes they will go against the popular vote. And that's why I'm just like, I'm just gonna sit back and watch and see how this plays out, because we're just seeing two grown ass kids, battling it out.
Yeah.
That's all it is. So that's my stance.
All right, enjoy.
So I had to unmute. So it's interesting listening to everybody's perspectives. I did actually study political science in college, and I think part of what's missing with all of this is in the discourse is that people forget there's no one person that runs a country. And to your point, Tamara, yes, we're not the banana republics and the countries that have the cabal behind the scenes, but to an extent, yes, they're the powers that be. And I think people forget this. Does it mean that your vote doesn't matter? No, because we have a democracy, right? But people forget that there are elements of different political ideologies in every system. There's no pure, true democracy, pure, true socialist or whatever system. We take what works, we fine tune it, and we put in a system in different aspects of our society. So that's the one point. So the other thing I do take offense to people saying just because she's a Black woman. And the reason I say that is we see this in society. We see this in the workplace. When I work in, so I did introduce myself as an attorney because partly because I'm so used to not saying that, right? It's not because I'm not proud of it, but there is a connotation that people put on it immediately. Oh, why are you so surprised? Right? Or my title or my role. Why is that so surprising? Because I'm a Black woman. Right? Yeah. What did you do to get there? I'm sorry, did you ask Jenny what she did to get there? And so for me, when our society or Black women and Black men say that, it's so insulting when I see how much she has fought and what she has done to get to where she's gone. I mean, they've been saying she's been sleeping around that side because it just couldn't be that she's that smart.
Yeah.
And I try to remind people, don't join in that chorus. She is smart. She is the most qualified vice president we've ever had. Okay, can we say that part instead of she's a Black woman, right? And so for me, it's so demeaning and insulting. She is most qualified. She is the second in line to take over if anything happened to the president. So she is very qualified to. Let's focus on that. Is she qualified to do the job? Just like we talk about every role, right, in our companies or daily lives. Let's look into that. So let's not demean that. But also, I say if we're not looking to the person, yes, the top ticket matters. That's a good thing. But again, to your point, Tamara, like it's not the one person, right? That matters. We want that person, but let's look at all the other people associated with them. And so have we had a glimpse, unlike the Obama era where we had never had an Obama come up. And so the true joy was like, oh my gosh, we've heard him speak. We heard the way he handled himself. We've seen the family, and that pushed us through that, right? For these two, can we really say we don't know what they bring to the table? And I think that's my quest when I talk to people, I say, she's been in this administration with Biden. You do know what their platform is. We've had a former president, for 4 years. So we both have 4 years of both sides. We know what they stand for. What I call out to people is let's go look at those policies again. Let's review them. Let's compare and contrast, because unlike Obama, like I said, where we didn't have a prior presidency, we do have for these two people. She has stayed on the ticket. She has stayed on the platform. She's not deviating from that. So we know what the Biden administration stands for. Same way with Trump administration. Now let's look into the people that worked with him and the people that continue to work with him. And what do they stand on and what do they support? Because these are the people that will run the administration, right? The president is just the executive. Those in the legislature matter. Those in the judicial matter. That's what we have to look at. And when we compare and contrast them, and for me, that's where my ideals, my principles, and my baseline of being a Christian comes into play. It's not just one thing. It's not just second. And we do have to compromise in every facet of life, right? And so which part of it, as a Black woman, which part of it aligns when I'm thinking about my son? I have a 12-year-old. Aligns when I'm thinking about my sisters. I'm thinking about my brothers who are Black men roaming around in America, right? Let's look at those things. The things you're saying is just this. Look at their records and go and piece it together. And thankfully, we have so many resources resources. And I say, and Mel, I was just chatting to you about this. I said, we have resources online, and people get caught up in the chatter. And I'm saying, think about what matters to you. Go research that online, find independent sources that will lay a contrast and comparison, and then see where you go from there. So I get passionate about it, but because I just feel like we know their records, we know the people that they align with. Do they match up with our ideals? And I feel like a lot of people get caught up in what they say, not saying. It's like, this is all show. This is all theatrics, right? And that does not go to what happens in your pocket, in your families, in your security, financial security. Those are the things that matter. And I feel like most people, Black women, Black community, do not get into the nitty gritty of this. And this is what matters to us, right? And that for me is the biggest part, is that maybe at the end of the day, we do have to get back at some point to reforming the system, Tamara, because yes, the electoral college, since my college days, we've been talking about it. And I don't think it's changing, unfortunately.
No, unfortunately. That's the sucky part. And that's how I was like, yeah, like our votes matter, but I just think we've been focusing our votes in the wrong arenas. Yeah. I guess is my point. And we try to make this voting a big thing, but we should be having this campaign, in all states, because that's it should be
that's where the power lies.
Thing, right? Not just every time we have a presidential election. You know what I'm saying? So I think that's where it gets kind of misconstrued, that we have more power in this particular platform than we really actually do. Really, like you were saying, at the underlying, the back end is where we really need to be doing our due diligence. I do agree with that.
Right. In the counties, the state levels, that's where it lies. You got to empower people there. These are just the top, yes, but just like you put the whipped cream on top, that's not the main cake.
Correct.
That's not it. So it matters, yes, but that's not the main thing. So I shall stop now, Mel. Go ahead.
Well, I love you, Joy. And you responded to their comment, but you didn't really answer the question.
I love you too.
What changes does her now being the leading candidate? What does that change for you?
Oh, did he ask me?
Right. You answered. You didn't answer the question.
Wait. What changes for me?
And with her now being the candidate.
No. That's my point. It doesn't change anything. Because it's not really about the person who sits on that throne, so to speak. It's about the party. It's about those in her party who are going to be in Congress, appropriating funds, shutting off the tap to school lunches, saying who gets to have, $35 insulin shots or not, right? That's what matters to me. So whether she's there, whether, George is, I don't care who's at the top. The only part that I care about, honestly, and maybe you all have heard this, is it feels so good to have decorum. For me, it feels so good what she brings for me, and what VP Walz is my Minnesota governor. And it's so wonderful to see people people that could talk without demeaning people that could just talk and be normal. And for me, it's been so long. Can we just have, like we're doing, discussions as adults, and we don't have to barrage and hate and talk about physical characteristics, how I laugh, how I don't laugh. What is your business? Like things like that. I mean, how do I sit down with my little boy and he's listening to this and he talks more respectfully than the adults who are supposed to run the nation? And so for me, that's the biggest contrast for me, is watching her speak, watching Wall speak. And yes, do they get their little dings in? Yes. But might I say a little respectfully? You're right. You can play politics, but I miss the old days, so to speak, where when the adults come together, they know that the world is watching. And I feel over the last few years, they forgot that the world was watching. And the way they talked and the way they, like, when the kids are questioning and saying, is that okay that they're saying that? Doesn't that sound like the bully at school? Ooh, that's hard. That's hard to see. So that's the biggest difference, is just to see calm, to see that we can get to business, but we don't have to demean. We don't have to insult. Let's get to business. If it's unclear, okay, you say you've released your plan on your website. Let me go look. That's what matters to me. So it doesn't matter who really is at the top of the ticket. I'm looking at the senators. I'm looking at the House of Reps. I'm looking at the governors. I'm looking at the the county workers. I'm looking at those who are supposed to count the votes on election day. I'm looking at those people, the Secretary of States for the different states. Those are the places that I'm looking at and paying attention, because recently, I don't know if it was Georgia, where there was a website released that looked almost identical as the site where you get all your voting information. And I saw somebody say, and I'm not verified 100, but somebody say that they put a box there where if you wanted to unregister yourself, you could put your social security and that's it. You unregister. Now they say they may verify with the county officials. I'm like, what do you mean may verify? So anybody who had my information can just unregister me and I walk up there to vote and I'm like, no, you said you weren't voting anymore. See, things like that are what matter to me, not who is smiling and talking and everything. So to your question, Mel, I like the peace, I like the joy, I like the respectfulness that came back to me on the platform, on the political platform, when I look at the contract, both sides, right? But policy-wise, what impacts me and my family and my community, nothing changed.
Gotcha. Thank you so much for that. Now, does anyone have a response to anyone's statement? Because I do want to make it clear. I would like for everyone to get their initial response out to the question, but feel free to rebut at any point. So, any responses?
Yeah, I have a response to that. As far as, and I know, Joel, you had mentioned something about, like looking at the records. And I think for the first time in a long time, that's exactly what Black folks are doing. They're pulling out the record and they're calling all of them to the carpet. And so that's what I am happy to see right now, even though we know this whole political scheme is what it is, and we have to make the most of it, because one way or the other, we're in the middle of it. But yeah, the records are, very important. And I think when you see like candidates come out, and especially in Kamala's case, there's been a lot that has surfaced, and they're not lies. Now, I admit to you, I agree with you on the immature behaviors that have resulted from this. The silliness, people have gone overboard with it, but I think we do need to pay attention and observe, and that is really what I've been doing, because when you have people who flip-flop around and they saying one thing here and then the next, pandering, it creates distrust. It creates distrust in the people, and this is why we are where we are. We are dealing with a different generation too. So we have Gen Zers. We have a lot of folks that, their maturity level is not going to be the same as our more seasoned women.
Exactly.
So I think this is just what comes along, with that. And again, it saddens me as well, but this is where we are. But people are definitely paying attention to those records, and that's a relief for me. It's been an eye opener for myself personally.
Nice. Any other response before we move forward? All right, we're going to move forward. And Amanda, we're going to start with you on this question. There's an anticipation that both parties will heavily pursue the vote of Black women for the remaining of the election cycle. What do you need to hear from a candidate for them to receive your vote? And which candidate do you have more faith in providing that vote for you? Providing that for you?
Whew, my faith is in God. So
Amen.
I'm gonna just say that, no faith in man. For me, honestly, I don't like, and I don't know if you ladies agree or not, but I don't like how, people go to the Black woman when we're needed. Like, our strength is not exalted in any other time, but when you need us, then you focus on us. Like, I feel like we are powerful. And if you know that, then why wait until certain times to capitalize? on that. So it's, for me, I'm more like, if you're gonna try to get my vote, like I want you to get it legitimately. You know what I mean? Because how can I say this? Just to focus on getting the Black woman's vote, is that the best thing for us as a whole? Because this country is not made up of just Black women. You know what I mean? So are you focusing on us because you truly care about us, because you value our opinion, or are we targeted? And that's kind of how I'm looking at it. Like, it's almost like Black women, even in like sales, you know what I mean? Like in retail, in any type of sales environment, they know we spend a lot of money. So even advertisements and things are targeted, towards us. And I see that a lot. So when they say, "Oh, we're going after the Black woman's vote," what do you mean by going after? You know what I mean? What does that mean? And that's what I'm trying to figure out. Are you going after our vote because you know that we are going to vote and it's just a number to you? Are you going after it because you value us, you value our opinions, you value what we bring to the table? So when I hear people say that, it's more like, are you doing that just because we're the majority and you need us? You just need our vote, or are we valuable? It's to me, it's a little offensive, to be honest, for people to be like, "Oh, we're targeting the Black woman." I mean, we're going to vote anyway. We are, but why not target another group? Because if you're being all inclusive and you care about everybody, and your platform is to really secure the futures or whatever of everybody, why are you targeting us? And that's just how I look at it. Like, everybody knows how powerful we are. Everybody knows the strength that lies in a Black woman. So when I heard that, to be honest, because I just had a discussion with somebody about, they were like, they're going after the Black woman's vote. Um, I don't know that I like that. I don't, because what is the reasoning behind that? Is it just a number? Are you using us? And so, that's one of the things I've been trying to. It's funny that you mentioned that, because I really don't know how I feel about that, because at this point it seems a bit offensive to me, because we're targeted for a lot of things. You want to talk about us on this end. We're not good enough over here. But when it's time to make money or it's time to get a vote, let's go get the Black woman. So I'm not real sure that I like that narrative.
Yeah. And just,
Yeah, I feel you on that.
I think you said it for the most part, but do you have faith in either candidate that they would get that done for you?
Not at this point. To be honest, not at this point. Just because, like I said, I mean, to piggyback off of what she said, I feel like they knew. Like they knew this was going to be. They knew that Biden was not going to be the one running. So when I feel like I've been duped on this end, what's to say I'm not being duped over here? So it just, like I said, it made me just kind of take a few steps back and start digging a little bit deeper.
No doubt. Tamara, question is over to you.
I know you're gonna pick me next, man. Felt it in my spirit. Oh Lord. What do I need to see and hear? I don't know. I just need to hear some truth, I think. I need some authenticity up in these parts. It's not about necessarily receiving my vote, but I do want to receive my vote. It's not about necessarily being a Black woman, like Amanda was saying. Like, we're not prey, and it just seems like we're prey and you're just using us. Yeah.
Right.
It's really, really, it's about classes. You got the lower class, you got the middle class, and you got the upper class. Okay. And I think that's what needs to be targeted, because it's just a group of us as a whole, more than just our ethnicity or whatever. There's power
Yeah.
in numbers, and there's just not simply enough Black women, in my opinion, to be really we're just very influential, which is why I think they're targeting us.
Yeah.
And that's all it is. But I know, And this is why I'm kind of struggling with Kamala. Now, based on like what Joy is saying, her credentials, she's definitely qualified. I'm not going to take that from her. But she's playing into the act, and that's where it comes into character and your integrity. And that's where I'm torn. And like just some of her campaigns and just some of your decisions, like, yeah, you want a sense of decorum and class, but why do we have Meg Thee Stallion shaking her ass at your rallies and shit? Like, to me, that's a little distasteful. You know, I don't want that representation to be tagged on to the Black woman that's supposed to be running our country. We could have chose
anybody.
I mean, it had to
I thought it was very insulting that you reduced us down to Meg. And I'm not slamming Meg, but as a performer and entertainer, she does her thing. But
it's appropriate for that event.
Right. It's like, this
I
what you
agree.
reduced us down to. Like, that part is starting to come out. That's why I was like, observe. We just sit back and look and see. This is what you reduced Black folks down to. Really, I did not like that at all. So I agree.
Even it was one campaign video. This is how you know they're going after just the Black vote. I don't know if it's necessarily Black women, but just the Black vote. But just, Kamala, you don't say in the streets. You don't. There's just certain slang that you're using in some of your campaigns that I'm just, integrity is really questioning the integrity. But you know, it's just qualification wise, she's qualified. But to have a good, I feel like, candidate, not only do you need to be qualified, but you need to have the character and the, you know, to back up, to make sure that you're making sound and logical decisions. And that's just my concern. Now, as far as which candidate do I have more faith in, it would most definitely be Kamala, because if I'm just going based off of her credentials and education, yes. If I'm just looking at a resume based on people's experiences between the two candidates, she would definitely be, I would have more faith in that. But that's just only going off of her credentials, period. But that's where I stand.
Gotcha. Joy.
No, I love this discourse that we're having. I think I haven't seen a lot of it. But I would also say I try to stay away. Election year political discussion is not my cup of tea, just because people get very passionate. I get very, Mel knows, very passionate about this, but just with family. I will not go beyond that, because people just get in their feelings, and I'm going, look, okay, listen, this is time to be grown up. That's about what affects us, and stop getting your feelings about this. And so I really appreciate hearing your take, all your takes on this. And I'll start with the Meg Thee Stallion one. If I tell you, it took me a while to even know who she was, because there's some things I will not affect my eyes with, like it's rubbish. But I also understand, I think, Sharetta, I think you're the one that talked about the generations, right? And I'm an 80s baby, so I know there's a big chasm. So I've not followed the musicians, the stars of the day, but I know when I was young, we followed all those people, and they were like, ooh, right? So I kind of understand why they will put somebody like that. For us, older folks, like, really? I mean, I saw clips of that, just like, I didn't even want to read, know why. It was just, and I just like, bye, right? For the younger folks, yay, she knows us, really, because she brought Meg on stage, or brought Beyonce, right? So it doesn't make sense at all that she would do that. But is she in charge of all those things? Somebody told her, this will be great. We'll bring the young 21-year-olds to the table, right?
Yeah,
so
they came and enjoyed the concert and then left. Right? They came and enjoyed the concert and then left.
And that was it, because it was part of what it is I think, I don't know who said it was just they were just putting this on. And that's really what politics is, right? Yeah. From the get-go, historically, it's about who put on the best show.
And that's why I don't like it, Joy.
Sorry?
That's why I don't like it, Joy.
Well, I know, but what I'm trying to say, even with different regions of the world and different decades, if you look at it, it's always been about the show, because it's about who you can convince the most with fluff, right? Mm-hmm. And so it isn't good. And people have tried with policy to try and change this. And you find that when you've got something so deeply rooted, it's hard. And which is why we go back to go to your local level, go to your state level, because that's what affects you the most. That's what matters. Mm-hmm. So I was trying to make notes as you all were talking. And this goes back to the record, like I was saying, for me, right? The staging, the music they use. I don't watch any political ads, because they're just fluff. They just spend all this ridiculous amount of money, which is useless to me. I hate the people that bombard my phone with this ads because it's annoying, right? But it's all this pizzazz, right? So that you just hear what you hear. You don't even know if it's AI. You don't even know if that's the truth. They splice it together, right? So I go back to the record. I go back to the Government Accountability Office. It's kind of like our accounting, the federal government accountant, right? I go back to where I know it's not Democrat, independent. It's just their whole aim is to audit the government and to tell you where you were wrong or right. Doesn't matter the administration. I go back to sources like that, to institutes like that, and I get information. Now, according to your question about Black women, okay, and in the Black community, I look at it like what I think it was Amanda said, what does that even mean as Black women? We mentioned Black women. And to your point, Tamara, it's because of the influence we have. We lead our homes. We're the ones hustling and doing. I'm not saying the Black men don't now. I'm just saying. but this is why they talk about Black folk. But one thing I'm very careful about and why I don't listen to all the political pundits, I call them, not scientists, because what they do is just opinions, which everybody has one, right? One thing that when I look at them talk, I say, let's get to the facts, okay? When you talk about Black women, we're talking about Black communities. We're mothers, we're sisters, we're aunties, we're friends, right? And what does that mean? And so if you look, I use the example of when we fill out a form and they talk about, are you Black or white? Are you Hispanic or whatever? This is so endemic in our entire system. Europeans don't have this. And sometimes they're like, why do you guys always have to mention whether you're Black or white or green? Like they don't get it. In our system. And so when we get to the politics, they do the same thing with us because it is going to tick some people off. It's going to make some people happy, right? And so for me, I don't listen to those classifications because these people are paid to sit on TV and do this all the time. So why do they always keep emphasizing? Because they want to rile us up. They want the Black women to come out, oh, no, you want us, right? Now, and then when we do that, they go, typical Black woman. Right? Exactly. So you can't win.
Exactly.
You can't. So I don't listen to what they call us, how they frame it. I go, let's go to the facts. And for me personally, what I've read so far and followed the administrations is when we look at the word that nobody likes to, that doesn't have a good connotation now, DEI, right? What is the concept of DEI? Don't listen to what they're saying. Why did we need it? Same way affirmative action became a bad word. And now it's been struck down, right? To me, those are things that were fought for, people shed their blood for, because they said you cannot recoup 400 years of putting people down and expect them to be at the same level and to have success in life. So we have
Joy, on that point, can I ask you a quick question on that?
Sure.
Because of these affirmative actions, and we want to try to make sure we have diversity.
Yeah.
How long do we feel these programs need to be in place? Like, when is this going to be a forever thing, or do you think we'll get to a point in our country where we don't need that anymore?
Well, they already told us we don't need it now, so that's kind of a foregone issue. But it wasn't about timing; it was about the impact, right? Its impact. If we still see today that the people who still don't get promoted, and we have no just reason for it, right? Have we really arrived? When we count those people,
that's not saying. How do you count that when?
Because they have
to have those problems, though, right?
Right, but we just same way we talk about like the disparity in income, right, for men and women. Be able to check statistics and say, wait. Joe has this job. Mary has this job. Mary even has more qualification. How did Joe get promoted? Get $20,000 bump? Mary got $5,000 for the same job. So I'm not saying it's a perfect formula, but the whole purpose of DEI is once we institute these things and we have people who are already many times overqualified, right? And we give them, okay, yes, you take that office, not because you're Black, not because you're Latino. No, it's because you've been sitting all this while and other people have been going, and it makes no sense. They don't show us why. So if we help you get into that office and you kill it, see, we were right. You don't kill it, come back down here, you go up. Right. So it's there's an adequate measure. It's not perfect science, but the whole purpose is not a time frame. It's about, let's see, we're making some movements. Now, an example I'll give you all is with VCs, right? A lot of Black women businesses, a lot of minority businesses really gain from catering to particular communities, right? You have young boys or young girls that, hey, if not for this money, either from the federal government or from foundations, they couldn't have access to the proper education, tutoring, and everything they needed, right? Some of them end up going to Ivy League schools, right? Which they would never have even been considered, because who has that money to pay for any of that, right? And then when you put them on that, then they get to go to the law firm that's top tier. Then they get to work at Goldman Sachs, right? But all started because you put them in the pipeline. That's really all it is. We're not saying once they're in there, give them a free pass. We're saying open the door, please. When they walk in, let's see who's better or who does great job. That's all what we are. But what has happened now is that now you see the, please don't take offense if you're conservative. I'm just saying based on the people that come out and what they say. They stand for Christian conservatives and nationalists. And they say, so we believe you don't need any of the things. And I'm going, but I thought we're all equal in the eyes of God. So how do you help me come close if you don't put any systems and any policies that will help me come close? Because when it was back in slavery time and Jim Crow time, we were separate, but absolutely not equal. Right? We had to do things to get us closer to equal. So nobody's saying discriminate or have a reverse racism. But I'm saying when I look at policies that people fought hard for, voting rights and all of that, it's so that we can say, let's get us a bit closer. We're not saying we're going to sit there and not do anything, because honestly, most of the time we are very overqualified. Right? We work harder, we work the most, right? We're just saying, give us the opportunity. So when people start saying, oh, that's reverse racism, oh, we shouldn't shut some people out. No, we're really saying, like your children, right? We talk about when you have autism, right? We're not going to say, well, we don't care you have that. Just sit in class. God bless you like that and brought you to the world. You do what you can. Come on now. We're society and we're each one help one, right? So we're going to create a space for you. We're going to say, how do we help you? Because we know he's smart. We know he has what it takes. He just learns differently. These are the kind of programs when we talk about Latino communities and Black communities that we need to put in place to help them get closer, because the race already started a long time ago and some people are already close to the finish line. So how do we help you get better? So for me, I look at student loans, I look at healthcare, I look at how some, I think I remember their name, there was a particular VC where they fund Black businesses, especially Black women who want to start businesses and help them and invest in them. They can't do it anymore because they got sued and got shut down. What was the premise? We're Christian conservatives. We don't believe in this. Are you serious? Which Christian principle is this? Right? So when I look at that, that's how I compare and contrast, right? These things that we're fought for, or the fact that anti-lynching law didn't get passed until 2022. Why? Explain that to me. Right? Oh, we don't think you should punish someone if they did it. How do you know that we're going to lynch the person? Should we wait till the person is lynched? Right? So certain things to me are so common sense that when I look at both sides, it's easier to compare now. So somebody else, it might not be that clear. I'm not trying to insult, but I pick this next to each other. The Black woman, when you don't have that funding to start your business that you used to have, because unfortunately they're scared of being sued now. The young boy and young girl who could have gone to Harvard in 3 years, but sorry, we can't select because you're Black or Latino anymore. These are impact that are going to be reverberating the next 2 to 3 years amongst our community, and it's going to set us back. So that for me as a Black woman, these are things that matter. And I've seen it happen based on the Bible, based on Christianity, based on Christian nationalism. And that is absolutely wrong. And I will not stand with that. So.
Sharita.
Sorry about that. I saw I was muted. Before I answer, I just want to respond to that. That was some awesome exchange there, by the way, with that. But one of the things that I think when it comes to these programs, even though I think, some of them are like, they're well intended, but they always seem to get usurped and end up benefiting other races and ethnicities and what have you, besides the group that it was originally intended to benefit. We have seen this play out time and time again. If you don't believe me, don't take my word for it. Just look around you and observe what position are Black people still in today. We still on the bottom rung of the ladder. So that we can, everybody, I know that like in this bipartisan world, it's easy to be like, oh, this, Democrats did this, Republicans are responsible, and they want to, and white Christian, nationals want to do this and that. I mean, it's easy to point the fingers, and I think it gets usurped. We need to, at a minimum, create our own space. And really, if we want to thrive as a people, working together cooperatively and not having a lot of governments interfere with certain things. We've done this before. If people remember the history, the Black Wall Streets, all the other things, like we done this. We know where our power lies, as all of you ladies have said. But putting too much power in the hands of this government, they get to dictate and control. They got the puppet strings and whatnot, and can, so, and then of course they turn everything loose to society to bicker and fight. And race, by the way, is another construct in and of itself that we don't have time, I know, to go into on this one, but it's a lot underneath that. But anyway, the question, I think it was the anticipation of both parties. Well, yeah. Again, I'm just going to reiterate, for the record, y'all know I don't have a political science background of any kind. So I speak just purely on what I discovered through observation and the info that I have, and the way I see it and have been seeing it. And, please correct me if you see it another way, but the Democrats are going to keep dimming. And by that, I mean, like, the pandering, the line, just vote for me and we'll talk about it later after I get in office. Ain't that exactly what Biden and Kamala did in 2020 when Black folks put them on the hot seat, especially when the reparations discussion was heating up? So, and I'm not saying I'm married to any of those things or topics. I'm just, again, observations. And I'm sorry if I keep pounding on the Democrats. Sorry, but not sorry. The reason I stand on this is because most of us don't even know how our family fell into the Democratic web, right? In the first place. And I would like to know how many of us here right now on this panel are aware of the formation of the political parties and the power and money behind them. You know what I mean? So when I looked into the history of that and what I consider to be objective documentaries, I was floored. I couldn't believe it. So no, for me, which candidate do I have more faith in? I mean, no, somebody held a gun to my head and said, you gotta choose one or the other, even though
that's how I feel.
Yeah.
If somebody was like, you got to choose right now, I'm going to tell you, I'm going to probably side with the conservative and Republican aspect. Okay. And that's because of what I know from this whole Democratic operation that has been installed. And I'm not saying Republicans are any better. Like, what we're seeing play out, there's still some mess on that end too. Yeah. So I don't want to, it's just, I don't like the scheme of things and what's playing out. And that's because the Democrats have taught us how to be dependent versus, at one point, Black folks in this country were Republicans.
Yeah,
they were. They were about that money and they stood on business. The Democratic infiltration and occupation took place to turn us into dependence. This whole, kind of socialist type of thing. That was the worst thing, in my opinion, that could have ever happened to us. Yeah. So I'm going to leave that right there.
If I may, Mel, thank you for that, Shrita. I had a question for you, but also a couple of comments in the history, right? And certain groups of people following one party versus the other. Same way, days change, years change, ideals change, right? Yes. And this is why I keep telling people, go back to, we've had the opportunity to have both sides have at least one administration. So go back to the records of each administration, because that tells you what you need to know, right? And read the objective records and how it impacts, what impacts yourself, your community, different political systems, like I said before, we have those ideologies embedded in different areas. When I tell people, do you know Medicaid, Medicare is socialism? They're like, no, it's not. It's helping the elderly. I'm like, it is. Because people have one definition of a political ideology, and that's what they stick to. But if you read the details of what they are, you find out that our democracy has a bit like communism in it, has socialism, and has a bit of the Marxism. It's all because there's no one size fits all. So at different
Right.
aspects, we have to integrate something, tweak it a little bit to fit. That all works. But to your point, the question I wanted to ask you and why I said this is very sad when we come to that formative action bit is, and the effect of you were saying about us helping ourselves. This is why that part hit me really hard, because we cannot help ourselves anymore. We will try, but we are going to get sued. This is what I mean. The Black Wall Street and everything, we focused on our communities and we said we're doing this for, but if you do that today, they're going to say, no, your criteria is racist. This is part of when you read the order and stuff, is that for me, it was such a broad, overbroad, right? The way the court ruled. And we know the court did what they did. We
Well,
can't
I
do
thought
anything.
you can get into trouble if you are unable to prove disadvantage. You see what I mean? If you're able to put forth stats and the data to back why you need to do what you're
Oh,
doing.
even if you did that, they're saying if you did that, you couldn't open the door to just the disadvantage, is what they're saying.
Yeah.
So this is the tough part that I'm telling people. It really hit us hard as a community, because you can prove all of that and say they're disadvantaged. Like, yeah, but at least you still open. You know what you were saying about opening it up to more than those who need it? What this has done is said, now you have to open it to Latinos, you have to open it up this, but before we could have the little funds we have and say, you're a Black woman starting a business, I've got 100 mil, I'm going to split it and give you 5 mil to invest, and I'm going to follow you the 5 years and keep investing. You can't even do that anymore, because your criteria was this community and this group of Black women. So you've proved that they're disadvantaged. You have statistics for decades, but they're like, nope, you have to use every woman who wants it. And even if a man wants it, you have to open it up. Well, how much do we have to spread around?
Well, what I was meant by that is not so much to take it on a scale such as the national scale and state level. I'm saying there are things we could do right now in our own communities on a smaller, families. I don't necessarily mean like, oh, we have to run to the big almighty government and then they're going to be checking everything and ticking and tying and seeing who's been naughty or nice, on everything. I understand we still fall under statutes and codes and regulations if we're going to do business. But I see a lot of times, time and time again, when families in smaller communities come together and really work to build and repair their personal finances and their situation, I see then they don't need all these other programs and different things.
But the problem then becomes, if, for example, all four of us came together, right? And we said, we've seen the need here, we want to do this. We write up sort of our guide, right, on why we're doing this, who we're doing this for as a community. We know there's any way to do that. The problem with this ruling, what happens then is tomorrow, Mel is a young Latino man and Mel goes, oh, that's not fair. I need to do this. I need this for my community. Why does it have to be for your community? Now, you're not government. You're not this. You're private. You can even be nonprofit, right? The problem now is
infiltration.
Once he challenges us, now we have to go plead our case. And we most, especially with the ruling, are going to lose. And now we have to also help Mel and his community. See what I mean? It's so broad that they made it too broad that now even a lot of people that could do like four of us coming together, now we're scared of repercussions, right? To even help our little communities. And that's the part that I say people, especially on the local level, need to fight. Maybe the state can pass things to help out, but it's just so hard when people think it's just at the top level and businesses, but nonprofits are shutting down now because we're so focused on community and little groups, and they can't do it anymore because lawyers are telling them you're opening yourself to liability. So it might not be what they intended, but that's the effect now that's cascading down to little groups, little communities that are helping very, very marginalized communities all over the country.
And to that, do you think that, and I'm not trying to just kind of single out, specific, but when Asians come over, they do this all the time. When the Middle Easterns come over here,
Right.
they do this all the time.
What
And
is
nobody,
this? Could you qualify what you mean by this?
no, they're like actually looking out for their core communities, their ethnic. Hold on one second. I'm sorry. I want to silence an alarm. They look out for one another. And if they see you trying to come in there, if here I come, oh, I want a little bit. What y'all doing over here? You know,
Right.
Can I get some help too? We will be blocked so fast.
Yes, they do.
The first thing is we don't even know. We don't even have access.
No, to keep
to
us
what they're
on the
doing.
bottom of the totem pole. So there's more than meets the eye here. There are people who are doing this very thing, and they are getting away.
And they're surviving.
And that's a big part, right? That's a big part because yes, will they get in trouble if somebody flags it? Yes, but we all know
who's flagging it.
Who gets
I don't see that.
more. Sorry,
I don't see who's flagging them.
No, but I'm saying now that we have this, somebody can have a right to do that, is what I'm saying. They can easily do that, but based on our lived experiences, who would get flagged?
Right, and that's what I'm saying. The whole psychology, this is why I say it, we have these things in terms of law, right? In the statutes that say you have to abide by this, you can't do this, you can't do that. But still, culturally, people still know what buttons and whose buttons they can push and they can get away with and not. And then 9 times out of 10, it is always us that gets targeted because we know anything we touch, if they know anything we touch will turn to gold. And they're like, oh, no. We need a piece of that. And so I do get that, but we don't have to be so overt with our intentions. We can move in silence. There's been so many.
Exactly.
I need people to help us do that because I've read of so many.
There are groups that like the whole grouping and community gifting and things like that. And those, I mean, sourcing and share. What is it? Crowd sharing and funding and things within these smaller communities. See, these are the things that I have actually witnessed and observed, and I've seen lives changed from it. But our folks don't know much about it, or whenever it happens, there's a certain human element that comes in, and it's called greed. Or jealousy, or envy, or whatever. You can name all the 7 deadly sins you want. Just pick one. They come into play, and this is why I said there's a lot of deprogramming that we have to undergo here before we can even get to that place. Because there are people, there are groups, there are cultures and ethnic groups right now that they are doing their thing, and they are moving.
Yes, they are.
And ain't nobody raising up, fussing, and carrying on about what they got going to help their communities.
See, and that's, I think, what I've learned from what you said. There are 2 things that I really appreciate you like expatiating on that, because my first bit is, this is why to me these rulings were very hard for our community, because we get targeted more than those groups.
Yeah, we do.
So these kind of overarching coverage was good for us, right? And so taking that coverage out, we are the ones that lose, right? Even though they call other groups, we're the ones that lose. But also what I'm hearing from you is, like you're saying about the covert working in silence, then we need more people to get into policies that can talk to that, especially at the local level, to pass things to help us be able to operate. Because I kid you not, once people start suing in district court doing this, a lot of people are like, nope, can't call me, can't join that. Right? Because
we got to learn. That's why I said we do have to learn the proper skills to, and not be. And as Black people, we are proud people. We like to talk and say what we doing. And, oh, I got this. And,
show off. We got to show off.
You know, if you've ever read, you got to move. You got to learn to move in silence and not broadcast everything, but just due to our history and our past. When we finally get to a certain place and level, we gotta shout it out at the top of the, the hills and the mountains.
I know.
That's why Amanda, you had something to say. Go ahead.
No, I see that. Like, I was piggybacking off of what she said. We have to learn to move discreetly. My dad has an Indian friend, and I'm not. I don't know his exact nationality, but he was speaking to my father on how they help each other, and they don't necessarily like each other. It's a set.
They on code.
Right. They follow a code. And you see that. I live in Louisiana, where the Hispanic community is like from 5 years ago when I first got here, because I'm originally from Mississippi. I lived in Georgia for 15 years. From when I first got here, the growth in the Hispanic community has just plummeted. They own businesses. I live in a nice neighborhood. They own a lot of the houses, they own a lot of the business. They have infiltrated, but you didn't hear anything about it. Nobody's saying anything. You know, for us, I feel like just like what she said, first of all, we got to shout it to the rooftop. And then we are in a culture, whether we want to admit it or not, I don't want my penny to be shinier than your penny. It's still a penny. You know, that's where we are mentally, and other cultures are just not like that. They have learned to push that aside for the greater good of the people. And that's what we need to learn to do.
We're crab
Like,
in the barrel type stuff.
yeah, we got to operate under the radar. You know what I mean? Like, if I have a business owner over here and I know what it takes to um elevate, or what resources, what funding, what loans, whatever it may be, I can they other cultures seek out other people in their culture. They don't wait for people to come to them. They seek out other people to invest in, if it's just
You're right.
intellectual
When you say
property.
they don't even have to like each other. They
They
just
don't
know
even have to like
this
each
is a
other at
resource and
all.
you have it, and we got to be on code to keep everything moving.
It's an expectation in their culture. Like, they're looked upon like unfavorably if they're just sitting over there not helping anybody. For Black people, it's not like that. It's like we come up and it's like, well, I came up and, look at you. You have to get it how you live. And we'll never grow like that. We never will. We have to be able to, like you said, we got to operate under the radar. They don't need to know everything we're doing. Like, even in our families, sometimes people don't need to know everything that you're doing. They don't, because we don't know everything that they're doing. Like I said, I don't know what these Hispanics are doing around me. All I know is this one just bought a $500,000
They
house.
own the block
This
now.
one just, yeah, like this one, he was driving a truck and now he has a Maserati. And these buildings were empty and now they're all owned by Hispanics. They're doing something, and they're not telling us everything that they're doing. We need to learn how to operate like that. I know a lot of successful Black people, a lot of them, but I don't know anybody that they've helped to become successful like them.
Now that's
You
a
know,
word.
Can I
That is a
interject
word.
though? Can I interject to that point? Because I was in real estate. I had tenants that, and I'm in Metro Atlanta, and I had tenants, right? And I had a couple of them. They were Mexican and they were
mhm,
Hispanic. And let me tell you what I want. They opened my eyes. I was in my late 20s, early 30s, right? When I witnessed this. Because when you said we got to learn that, I already saw how they move. And a lot of times, and yes, it did pose some problems and some issues. But I had a lot of respect for them, because when I saw what they were doing and how they were pulling together, and we all complain and look at them at first and be like, oh, look how they all crunched up in the house,
No, I don't.
10 to 5 families in a 3-bedroom. They will do whatever they have to do to make it work. And then when they get over here, they work. You see everybody talking about all of the jobs and this and that. They come over here, they've proven their work ethic. Then they make their money. Somebody goes and buys the land. They build their house.
Mm-hmm.
The other 3 families are left at the house, the other one, and whatever. And then boom, they all work for each other. And the next thing you know, bam, the next one has come up. See,
But
this is
we
what
can't
go ahead.
we can't do that as Black people. I had
Right.
that discussion with somebody, because you do see a lot of that.
Yeah.
It'll be 15 of them in the house. Well, so first of all, for Black people, somebody got to be the head of household. Like that's gonna be a struggle. Like, who's in charge? You know what I'm saying? Yeah. And not only, and let's keep it real, not only can't put a bunch of families in a house. Just think about 5 or 6 Black couples in a house. She looking at my man. Is she sleeping with my husband? Is she?
Yes, Lord. Unnecessary
Yeah.
drama.
Yeah, we got a lot of programming.
We can't, exactly. We can't get outside of that to focus on we can never live together.
So then
I know.
it's, if I'm listening to you all, which makes me sad, and listen, this happens with African communities too. The shining, the wanting to be on top. Yes, it's endemic in Black. You ask a Caribbean friend of mine, they'll tell you the same thing. Something with us Black people, we excel, we do this, but this part has been something. Here in Minnesota, we have the Hmong people who do the same thing you were just talking about, Shreda, and they would save and save and save and pay cash for that house. And then like, okay, now you take on the new people that just moved here so that they can work and save and save. And they pay the car cash, house cash, they don't know that. Like it's amazing. You see that. And so there's so many cultures. So to me, the underlying issue with us Black people, why we can't trust each other, only God knows. But I feel trust is the biggest thing, and the culture. And I don't know. I think it's the culture. I was telling Mel, I don't know if it was you saying the other day, it's like, where are the aunties and the uncles? Where are the elders? And I feel like we've lost that, which is why I can't watch all these entertainers today, because nobody knows how to talk, right? And I say like, but then I look at TV and I look at politicians, I look like so-called professors, and everybody just talks over each other and yells at each other. And I'm like, never mind. Right? So as educated as we are, as exposed as we are, all of that, what is our culture? I watch some of these clips, maybe it's beach or whatever, like, oh, for the culture. I'm like, please tell me what the culture looks like now, because I have no clue. So how do we go back? I guess if any of you have any insight, I don't. How do we go back, almost like starting over? How do we build? Because these people, like you said, they might not like each other, but this culture is something they do. It's not a choice. They have to do it. This is how we build community. This is how we help each other not get in debt. But for Black folks, how do we go back where there is, like the Black Wall Street era, like you're saying, there were elders, there were people who people listened to. This is how it worked, right?
Yeah,
And they
and we
listened
were
to them,
there
it worked,
before,
and they kept
right?
doing. But I don't have any aunties or uncles that talk wisdom anymore that I can respect, and everybody honored them.
Because I think
Yeah, we have
everybody
definitely
Everywhere.
evolved from it. But
everybody's about
oh, go
self.
ahead. I'm sorry,
I
Tamara.
know. I was
That's
just saying
good.
everybody's about self now.
Yeah.
So, but is
I,
there any hope, I guess, is what I'm asking you, ladies. And
there's
because
there's
why do we have Black churches everywhere and nobody listens and nobody is filled with
but who's
wisdom
but
to
who's
advise?
but who's predominantly in Black church? I think part of the problem is men and women are not coming together. We're so divided in the Black community when it comes to men
Right.
and women. Go to a
Right.
church, you're going to find more Black women than you find Black men in those churches. That's
Yep.
not
It's
even. That's not.
deprogramming, deprogramming, and then reprogramming. And the deprogramming part is just, that's like performing major surgery. I mean, you got to put somebody under anesthesia for 2 hours and just
Yeah.
that's major surgery. I don't have really the answer for, but I do at a high level. I can see it's a programming issue, because once I have worked in a small group before where we were literally like we read a lot of books that a lot of these leaders and strategizers read. You gotta uncover so much stuff so that you can get to the meat of what
Black
you have
folks
to
don't want to
get
read
to.
though.
And they don't. That is a problem. You're right, and
That part.
it's sad. We don't even want to. People don't want to do self exploration. They don't even want to do self help. But that's what it's going to take. And if you find a small group of strong, like minded people that get it, you can't just link up with everybody. Like I have family right now that I'll be like, no, I'm not calling you to come be a part of this right now. So we have to what's the word? Discretion. We have to use discretion to be very
And
discretionary.
discernment. Yeah.
And discernment. That's it. We need discernment, and that takes time. But we live in a microwave society, so there we are. We can go down this rabbit hole.
But I wish, because for me, even listening to all three of you, we need
This will be the
to
last
have
word on
some.
this, Joy.
Sorry.
We'll let you have the last word.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no, I wish if all three of us, as we go back to our, families and spaces, I hope that this discourse continues, because ultimately what I'm hearing, or unless you're hearing different, is we all agree that we need to do this for ourselves. And to do this for ourselves, we have to have a level of trust. And from my perspective, we need to have the elders who have lived through some things, who their parents talk to them. And we need to have a part where we, our age, those younger than us, respect these elders and their wisdom,
Mm-hmm.
and then follow through. And then we imbibe the same in the younger generation. But if we can't talk to each other, if nobody respects anybody, how can we do that? Because we don't have to like each other, right? But if we believe in the same principles and respecting the elders and taking from their wisdom and what they've been through and guiding us, then we can walk in silence, like you're saying, right? And we can accomplish those things. But I don't know how. And the deprogramming, you say, maybe we need to parse that out a little bit more and start, trying with discretion and discernment to start doing that a little bit, little by little in our local communities. Because if not, unfortunately, I feel like we're going to come back years from now and we're still going to be saying the same thing.
Very spirited conversation, ladies. I love it. I love it. So powerful. Love that so much. And it's hard for me to sit here and not respond. But we'll move on. Just the moderator today. Our next question, and we're going to start with Tamara. It's Tamara or Tamara. Which one?
Tamara. You
Tamara.
just saying it right now. You want to get it wrong.
Getting it wrong all of a sudden. It's crazy, right? What message would you like to convey to other Black women that has an opposite political view from yours?
Just stand on your decision. Make sure that you are doing your due diligence in investigating and making sure that you are choosing the better candidate, or if you have like a view that is different from mine. This is why I know I like a combination of different sides. Like, I can see the conservative side, I can see a liberal side, I can see socialist, I can see those sides. So I don't necessarily say it's opposing, but I think, like Joy is saying, like, we have to have a mix of all of that for it to kind of like make sense. It has to be a balance. So I don't necessarily look at it as an opposing view, but I like, I just like to stand on whatever you view, but be open and being flexible, and maybe those views changing, because that could happen.
Right.
I don't feel like, you look at things one way your entire life. I have been taught to be Democratic all my life until I got older and I started doing my due diligence. I'm like, well, hold up. I don't know if I'm really Democratic like that. So you start to, learn. So I just say, anybody that has opposing view, I'll just keep it short and sweet. Do your due diligence. Make sure that your view consistently aligns with your views, and if not, be open and be flexible to change that.
Nice. We're gonna go to Joy.
I stand with that too, what Tamara said. I think it's having this discussion is helpful, right? If people are willing to be open. If they're not willing, that's why I told you, ladies, I try to stay away because a lot of people are not willing to be open to listen. When you hear some conservative views that you're like, oh, that makes sense. But at the end of the day, like we've talked about throughout this entire discourse, is we can side with these views, we can see how they work, but it is those that are going to sit in seats that would implement them that matters, from the local all the way to the top. And so even if they say one thing, are you trusting that these people are going to implement what they say? Do we have the proper mechanism to implement them? That's really all that matters at the end of the day. And so no matter if we disagree on, on views, it's are we aligned, like Timur said, to go do our due diligence to say, he said this, she said this, but wait a minute, the Government Accountability Office or whatever, institute or whatever that independent that you read up said statistically, boom, 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 boom. Well, hold on. Once they lay that out for you and look at what you want for yourself and for your family and for your society and community, how do those align, really? And so I'm not disagreeing. I'm not agreeing. I'm just saying, let's talk about it. And at the end of the day, this is why we each have a vote. You vote, you stand by it, right? And then we all pray.
That part.
Yes, indeed. Sharitha. Sharitha, you're muted.
Sorry, I keep forgetting about that. The main point I guess I would like to make is this. And, instead of continuing to split hairs, I think we must learn to stop compartmentalizing. Like we all said, having that blend. It's okay to have differing opinions, but is it really your opinion or belief, or is it someone else's? Because a lot of this stuff is some subtle propaganda and programming that seeps in, right? So what I would ask my fellow sisters to do is think, analyze, and research instead of just responding with, pure emotion. I like intelligible exchange, such as what we're having here. I find that the political conversations I've engaged in with members of my family in the past were constructed purely on these hunches and feelings. They never presented any type of research or evidence of their own. They were just
Lord.
parroting what they heard the talking heads on mainstream media. And so I have found that if one person just stops and really observes, just pause and think back over your own personal life experience, your family and friends' life experiences, it will reveal so much. You don't even really have to go far, in my opinion, or dig too deep to understand that Black people have been tricked into their own slavery. We embrace it now due to programming. We've been talking about this for over an hour now. And if I feel like, again, if you don't believe, just look up the documentaries made on the founding of these, especially the Democratic Party. I watched a couple of them, but one that really stood out was the one, I think, by Dinesh D'Souza or something. I don't want to go down that rabbit hole with anything. I don't want to say anything that could get, Mel, your channel struck or banned.
What you want to say on this channel? I'm just being honest.
Yeah, we live
say what you want. Feel free.
Yeah, okay. We live in an era of information, and I'll wrap this up. There's no excuse nowadays for folks to run by default anymore.
Right.
There's Google. And even with all of the shadow banning and algorithmic manipulation they do to control search results, I still managed to find a few gems here and there that they forgot to hide or they overlooked some kind of way. So that's all I really, in my Forrest Gump voice.
I wanted to add, when you said Google, I was like, that's what gets me from people. I'm like, you don't even have to do deep research.
No.
Like the first page of Google results, you will get a mix from all over the world telling you what, like, you don't even look at US, look at international sources and let them talk to you. And people, it's so surprising. People won't even do the basic Google search. But I heard, did you believe your auntie when she said that yesterday? So why you believe in a whole stranger? Like, really? Anyway, sorry. I just had to add.
That's where I am on that. People just gotta think for yourself and what resonates with you.
No doubt. Amanda.
All right, for me, I have this thing that we as Black people got to get out of they say. We always say, well, they said, or they say. What do you say? What do you think? You have to be willing, like Tamara said, to dig. And you may not have, Joyce said, you may not have to dig that far, but you have to dig. And don't always come to a conversation ready to argue or on the defense, ready to prove your point. I'm always open to my point being disproven or my opinion being open to change. And we have to enter into every discussion, every conversation like that on anything, because you may have perspective that I wasn't privileged to. You may have wisdom from your aunts and your elders that I wasn't privileged to. So then it will allow my opinion to change. Not that you won the fight, but you were able to educate me. And that's how we have to look at it, as it's like you're pouring into a pot. Like we're all pouring into the same pot. And it's not about who takes the pot. It's like, okay, once we pour all into this pot, you bring what you have, you bring your knowledge, you bring your wisdom, you bring your education, you bring your research, and then we all pour a cup of it. And then we disperse, and we're equal. But it's not about the fight. It's not about being right or wrong. It's about having an open mind and not worrying about what they say or what your auntie said, or, because I always look at it like, when you say they, who is they? And where did they get that from? What research did they do? Who was the they that told them that? Where do they get it from? So I just feel like we just need to come into it ready and open for our opinion to change, open for our mindset to change. And sometimes you do have to stand firm on what you believe, but also be okay with another person doing that as well. Like, we may leave a conversation, you still feel how you feel, I still feel how I feel, but you've given me some extra education. I'm sorry, y'all. You've given me some extra education, some extra knowledge to go back and think about, to pray on. And you may not change my opinion right now, but guess what? Once I get back and think about, because I'm already thinking about things that you guys have said, once I go back in my own time and I'm thinking about it, it may be that, you know what, she was right. Like, she was right about that. Maybe I need to look at that a little bit different. And my view or my aspect on certain things may change. But if we come into it ready to argue or ready to prove a point that we don't even know where we got that point from, we don't even really know why we feel like that. Like she said, a lot of us, I remember voting for the first time, and I voted Democratic all the way down the board just because that's what I was taught. And then I remember one of the candidates, this was in a local election, some things came out about him. And I was like, if I had just done a little research, I would have known that. I would have known that. And I wouldn't have voted for him. But I strictly voted Democratic because that's what my family had always done. So I just feel like we just need to be open-minded and get away from what they say.
I love that. I want to say thank you, Amanda. Like, she should just
Indeed.
very calm. I like how you just lay it out.
She just ran like she tied.
I know she's just like, I love it, because I think that's why I've told you, ladies, I don't have these conversations, because I feel like nobody knows it all. No. Nobody knows it. And we all already agreed that, hey, their power is behind the scenes. We only do our best, right? But their powers, and we can't change that. And if we come from that perspective, then I can learn from each of you. And I can have where I go back and research deeper based on what I heard from each of you for myself, and know what that impact is like for me. The same way we'll have pay taxes, our local, take care of our school district, like there are issues. Like, to your point about voting, sometimes I'm like, oh, I didn't research enough on that person. School district, like the county these matters, but how many people have the time, even with Google on their phones, to look that up? And then tomorrow when something comes out, like, they go, oh, really? Oh, I thought he was good. How did you think that? How did you figure that out? Right. And so I hope that people in this cycle get better from the clips I see, because it's just too toxic for me to watch some of these stuff. But the clips I see, unfortunately, I wish people think like you do. But most people are just ready, armor on, ready to go. And I'm saying, we're all on the same boat, right?
Correct.
We're not bazillionaires right there, right? They get to live their lives.
It's that fighting stance is by design,
Yes, keep us
divided. But we pressure cooker on all these people about certain issues and create the divisiveness that we're seeing.
But we need to stop. Like, for me, I'm like, but you're adults. Like, they can do all that because they make money from it, and they whatever they get from it. But we need to stop, pause, and go, like, why are we letting them have us do this? Are they really making us? Or can we just pause and be like, forget you? Like, no. Right? And that's what gets me, is like, they put these labels on us. They tell us we're this side, we're this. You got to be this, you got to be this. Why are we listening to them again? Like that, I don't understand that. Why we just listen to them and then just we're ready. But like Amanda said, it's like, if I sit here and I go, oh, that's interesting. I never looked at it like that. We're adults, we're learning, we're growing, and that should be normal. But unfortunately, every time I hear any like sound, I'm like, oh gosh, turn it off. Turn it because they're fighting, they're not listening at all.
Right. Deprogram, reprogram, and leave in silence.
Yes.
I feel like we need like a 3-step course from Shredder. How we get the community back.
It's been an amazing conversation, ladies, and we're gonna go into our final section. What I want you guys to do is wrap up everyone and give their final thoughts, but you have to answer this question. Who do you predict will win the 2024 presidential election? 2024 election. And why? The why is important. I want to know. Now we're going to start with Joy. Give your final thoughts and answer those 2 questions.
We talked so much you didn't even know what year it was anymore, Mel.
Right.
Really? I can't even know. Honestly, if I go off of just what I've heard people say generally and see on social media, and just for me, the vibe I'm getting, it would be the Democratic ticket. And I hate to say the ticket or whatever, but the reason I say that is I think a lot of people are still waiting to feel not being caged by, oh, I'm a Christian, I must do this, right? Because of my religion, I must do this. If I don't do that, then I'm not a follower of Christ. I feel like people are torn between looking at the issues, investigating, and just saying,
Mhm.
if I'm Christian, I must do this. If I'm this, I must do that, right? I think that's hard for people, but I feel almost like an Obama-ish vibe with the new ticket on the Democratic side, where people are just like, you know what? If I look at it, if I'm just, I think Tamara, you were the one that said this earlier, right? If I just look at qualifications, right, and just look at just generally, it's like a lot of people are like, then I'm gonna go this way. So this is why I feel the Democratic ticket will win, because a lot of people are still waiting from, okay, you are not the king. Tell me what you plan to do. And
Mhm.
please stop talking about her laughter. Stop talking about she's ugly. Just tell me how you're gonna rule this country. You just and people are tired of that. And unless something changes, we have what, 79 days to the election? Unless that changes, where there's not the name calling, the cattiness, and just focus on, listen, I did this for you when I was in office, and that's what I plan to do again. Unless that happens, I feel like that's the side it's gonna be.
Sharitha, with your muted self.
Unmute, Sharitha, unmute.
Y'all, I don't know what to say. Maybe it's because I get enough sleep. I don't know what it is with me and this mute button. um. Oh wow. Well, I just got to stick with reality. I have no idea, because we are now finding ourselves in a world of AI and technology that someone can program to do anything.
Mhm.
We saw it happen in 2020. The evidence is astounding if you know where to look. Um, I see the media and the financial powerhouses that back their chosen selected candidates. I don't really know what Trump's real intentions are. I think he's a pariah. He's a thorn in the deep state side. He's that honorary rebellious kid that don't want to listen to his parents. He has his reasons for doing what he's doing. They've used lawfare, I mean, to the fullest extent. That didn't work. He's out here still rallying, holding press conferences, interviews, getting shot, facing imprisonment. Why? That's the big question. The other side, I don't see Kamala. Where is she? She's ducking and dodging, playing red light, green light with us. I don't understand this. We are definitely, the dynamics are totally different. And I will say this, initially they gave us the illusion that we had a voice, and when the voice of the masses didn't support the targeted agenda, I feel like extreme actions were put into play. They put everything on the table to ensure that everyone chooses correctly, up to and including, y'all know what I'm talking about. So, but at the end of the day, um, they have shown the world who's really in control. And as long as we remain complacent, we will always be complicit. So, we're so busy. Lastly, we're so busy worrying about who the next president is going to be, when Congress is who we really need to be worrying about, because they hold the power and the purse strings. The legislators are the biggest gangsters out here. They have the sole power to decide whether or not we, one, go to war. President doesn't have the powers to declare war. That rests with Congress. Two, subsequent funding of these wars, the allocation of funds that are paid by you and me, our tax dollars. And three, whether or not the government even continues to function due to shutdowns. Like, we have potential risks of shutdown, like twice a year now? This is ridiculous. And then last, roughly 85% of congressional members, both senators and representatives alike, are beholden to the lobbyists. I just want us to keep this in mind. The office of the President of the United States Corporation is merely that, a of a CEO, the face. He or she has, still has to do what the board, aka Congress, wants him or her to do. Why do you think the oligarchs and lobbyists or their handlers who work for them are in the members of Congress face all the time? Why do you think Congress still has to give the green light for transition of power from one CEO, aka president, to the next, with the VP being the wild card? It's right in front of our face, hidden in plain sight. This is why I don't really go back and forth and get emotionally engaged about who's going to be selected, not elected, selected by our so-called representation, because they're going to do whatever the hell they want to do.
Mm-hmm.
And with that being said, who the hell you think they're gonna put in there?
When I said I don't know. This is what I'm seeing. I've told you I'm an observer. I don't know. I'm just watching because I see the scale going like this. You just see a lot of that happening. So I can't even say or speculate who our selectors are going to choose and how this is going to happen, because to be honest with you, I think anything is possible at this point. I really do. Nothing is the same. A lot of stuff has been juxtaposed and switched upside down. I feel like Alice in Wonderland. Stuff is backwards and forwards at the same time. So yeah, like that is really my position. I know you was like, you gotta answer this question, but that is really where I am, because we have something different in play. As I mentioned, AI and technology. Things can be taken, even though someone won the popular vote or they did it. At this point, I have no clue. I'm just gonna sit back and watch and see what happens. I'm gonna hope for the best, but I just don't know.
That's fair. All right, Amanda.
I feel like it'll be Kamala. And the reason I feel like that is because, first of all, because some Black people will vote out of obligation. Like, we feel like just because somebody looks like us, and this is what I've heard, we should vote that way. And then they're catering to a community that's distracted, that they're distracted from the real issues. Like, they're distracted from like their true qualities. It's like we are an instant gratification type of society. It's like, what do you put in our face right now? What makes us feel good? If it makes me feel good right now, I'm going for that. Like, we don't worry about what's gonna come with the backlash or what's gonna happen, after this gratification or this good feeling leaves. And that's just where we are as a society, and I feel like that's why Megan Thee Stallion was put there. That made us feel good. So she won a lot of votes just from that, without having to say anything to that group of people. And I feel like that was strategic. But I feel like, they catered that they are catering to a people who don't dig. If you look at their political campaigns, and like she said, she's not saying much. She's not saying much. She's just throwing a little bit out there to see what sticks on the wall, and we're just gonna run with it. And that's why I feel like, they probably will win. And it's not to discredit her, to discredit her at all, but just the way that the campaign is going, and the target audience and how they're targeting their audience, and this obligation and an unwarranted obligation that Black people have. Just because it's Black, it's right, and we're obligated to do that, because I've heard that over and over and over again. Not to say that it's right or it's wrong, but a lot of people are just, oh, we're just voting for her because she's Black, or we're just voting for her because she's, oh, that's the first woman president. I want my daughters to see the first woman or Black woman that's president. Not worrying about whether she's going to be a successful one or not. Not worrying about if the things that she's implementing are really going to help your daughters. You just want them to see it. And I think we get tunnel vision. Um, and so I just really feel like I don't know if that's their intention, but it seems to me like that's their intention. Like the people that they're targeting are ones that are not like us that are going to dig. You're going to have those that are going to do it anyway, but the people that they're going after, that's not the group of people. So I feel like it'll be. And then people just, we have this thing that we hate Trump. People hate Trump. Like Black people, we just hate Trump. It's just like we're supposed to. You know what I mean? So it's like picking the lesser of two evils to me. But I just feel like the way the people that they're targeting and the way that they are campaigning, and they're going towards the people that are not gonna do the digging, and it's not gonna be hard to secure that vote.
I was gonna add, Mel, if you don't mind, too. When you made that statement about less of two evils, I mean, this is what we're talking about, the systems, right? In
Mhm.
place. I think for a long time, that's what it's become because we tried to. There was a time I was an independent for a long time because I just, for me, conscience wise, could not on either side. But at the end of the day, I said to myself, you're wasting your vote, right? You got to
Right, right.
dig because we know it doesn't count. Every two-party system, we know you're wasting it. You're just taking it away from one or the other, right?
Mhm.
And so I had to get to a point where it's like you got to dig deeper and see what you can stomach. So unfortunately, I feel like for a lot of people who refuse to even dig, not just the ones that like because she's Black, like they're just some people that are like, what's the point? Right?
Mhm.
What's the point? So it's easier to just say she's Black, I'll go for that. Right. That's at least
Right,
better. Right.
right.
It's because what's the point? Because they feel like, and then there are people on the other side too that'll do the same thing. You know what? This is my principle. And I feel like this one thing on the other side turns me off. So that's enough for me to vote there. So I'm not going to dig any deeper. Because at the
Mhm.
end of the day, unfortunately, the problem with the two-party system is you don't really have a choice but to pick the lesser of two evils.
Right.
And is that going to change? Ooh, I don't know. But at the end of the day, is you know what? When you pick that, that's just the top. Like Schrader said, the CEO. That's beautiful. That's a shiny object. But we need to make sure the board is right. We need to make sure that the VPs on the bottom are right. And that's where the state and the local elections come into play.
Right.
But importantly, more importantly, why do we think we are the ones electing someone? That's what I'm getting to. We can have our moments all we want, but it's the selectors that are going to choose at the end of the day who sits in the oval.
True, but they get influence too. That's the
Yeah,
populist
they
vote,
do. Right.
and
They get
that sways the electoral college one way or the other. And so that's why where we go matters to what they're the final selectors, the electoral college, that's true. But these are also regular humans like you and I that have lives that go, oh, so people think this, okay, maybe
I
this is a moment.
believe that until the 2020 election happened when I saw the proof and evidence of what came about from this election. That totally flipped my world upside down about thinking that the electoral college, well, just us with the popular vote sway. Yeah, but anyway, I'm not going to get into that right here.
If y'all want to, we can right after Tamara says her answer. Give me one second. Tamara.
He's so funny. You mean okay? So who do I predict will win? Who do I think the electoral college is going to select?
And why?
I think they're going to select Kamala only because I just think like this was a plan. This has been a plan for years, and I think even when Biden came into office, I think him even choosing her as a VP has been a plan in place from jump. Okay.
Mm.
And it's just even like when Joy said her credentials and her backing, that was on purpose. If they were going to choose a woman in office, they were going to choose the creme of the crop. Okay. They were going to choose the top to back him up. So this was like essentially like a chess move to me. And I feel like how quickly she got thrown in our face. We pretty much saw Biden, I don't know what you want to call it, his health, and, it was failing over the years. I think they saw that too. And they knew he was not going to make it this last term. So it's just really out of convenience. I think that they sprung her on us when they did. I think all of this was planned. I definitely think Kamala is going to take it. However, if you want to go based off the popular vote, I think there's going to be two sides. Either you're going to have people that are going to vote for Kamala because she is a Black woman, and you're going to have people vote for Trump because she is a Black woman, and they don't want a Black woman running our country.
Okay.
So I think this election, we're going to see our country's true colors, honestly. And this is in between who the Electoral College chooses and the popular vote, because now we know how the people think. So I think it's going to be Kamala, just based on that.
Good stuff. Good stuff. All right. Is there any
This is
other?
why I told you, Mel, it's reminiscent of 2008 again. And I love the way you put it, Tamara. The people who do, she's a Black woman on either side. Like they're
Yep.
they know I don't want to look into whether she's good or not. She's Black. That's the end for me.
Yeah.
And the
That's
people.
it.
So it's gonna happen either way. But like I say, at the end of it all, I go back to Prince and say, "Lord have mercy." That's it.
Please.
That's all.
Show us grace and mercy, please.
That's it.
Exactly. Yes.
Man, I really, really appreciate you ladies for coming on. It took us like an hour and a half to get for somebody to say the name Trump. I'm proud of you guys for getting there and doing it. Like he the boogeyman. He the boogeyman. We can't say his name. Anyway, man, I love this. It was so incredible. I hope someone from the audience, I'm sure of it, someone from the audience was able. You guys talked about the person on the fence a lot, and I think this conversation can help with that, whichever side you go on. But I really appreciate you ladies once again for coming, taking your time to share with me on this. Hopefully it's not the last time we can do a panel together. It don't have to be this hard of a topic. Maybe we could do something else in the future, but love you guys. Thank you ladies so
We
much.
definitely should.
Absolutely. Absolutely.
Thank you. It was
All right.
awesome.
Yes, indeed. Enjoy your day.
Thanks. Appreciate it.
Thank you. Nice meeting you, ladies.
Let's go.